The Beach. And this movie was directed by Danny Boyle, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tilda Swinton, Robert Carlyle. The plot summary from IMDb: on a vacation in Thailand, Richard sets out for an island rumored to be a solitary beach paradise. So this is a film, much like the plot description talks about it. It's Leonardo DiCaprio is essentially just a traveler looking for adventure. And what I think this film does a good job in capturing for me is that sense that travel is a way to experience new things you wouldn't do at home. You're more adventurous when you're out there and travel. Sometimes you're seeking these different experiences that are things you can't get just when you're at home. In the beginning of the movie, he goes to Thailand and is basically, there's some line in it like, oh, if it hurts me to do something, then it's worth it. He's drinking like snake blood or venom blood, or I don't remember what that was. Like he's trying to push himself a lot. I mean, you don't really know too much about his background, but you kind of assume he's, a middle class to rich kind of kid growing up, kind of usually probably isn't in situations where his life is put in danger. And he's trying then to use this travel and this vacation as a way to do that. Like he's searching for the things that are not touristy. He's trying to find the things that are authentic, and he associates that with danger, which is definitely something, when I'm on a doing traveling, it's something where sometimes I'm feeling, okay, I want to capture like quote unquote, like the real whatever city I'm in or something. And a lot of times it is sort of pushing yourself a little bit and trying to get outside of your comfort zone, which is definitely something that Leonardo DiCaprio's character in this movie does. There's also that sense of travel companions. Like he meets a young French couple in this hostel or hotel that he's at. And, I've definitely on favorite vacations I've had, sort of you meet people out and you sort of spend a day or something with them. And then, they're your companions for about a day, and then you kind of never see them again, which is, I think, another thing that this movie does a really good job in capturing. But so in this film, though, like Leo, like the script says, he goes off to this beach paradise. He's trying to find this incredible place that is sort of this destination that is hard to find. He finds his map, and then he eventually gets there. And it is this incredible beach location. And it is definitely something, but then there's a dark side to it. There's a community there of basically ex-travelers who are setting up this commune. And there's a lot of, moral decisions he then has to make when he's there. And I think what this really does is make you think about like that price of paradise. And when you go off and you travel and you see a location that's great, you go on a great experience, sometimes that is not always what it's cracked up to be. You can't stay there forever. Like, which is another theme in this movie. I think they do a really good job of capturing too, that when you go on these vacations or do these travel, I shouldn't really use the word vacation. It's more travel. This is only a temporary thing. Like you can't be there forever, because then all of a sudden the downsides and the dark sides start coming up of wherever you are. And when you're traveling, it's not your home, right? So you only are seeing kind of the good sides of it. And I think this movie helps show, like, if you do stay there for a long time, you start realizing that there are problems here too. Like there is no such thing as that paradise. Though there is a line, I think it was like towards the end of the movie where Leo's basically saying like, oh, he still believes in paradise, but now he knows it's not a place, it's not a destination. It's when you have these amazing moments in your life, that memory is like that paradise. Which is a nice positive message too in this film. So I do think this, again, does a really good job of capturing that as well, that you can try to find that perfect place, but really you just visit a place that's great. And it's that memory you have of that travel experience and what you experience there. That is really the paradise, holding on to that. But, and then on a personal note, I went to Thailand after I'd seen this movie like 10 years later or something. I had to go to this beach. So I did actually go there.
Oh, wow.
And which was really cool, like to see it. There's a couple changes they made in the movie, like adding some more mountains to make it seem a little more secluded. So it's not 100% exactly what it looks like in the film, but it's still pretty cool. And then even like a little bit of a meta comment, I guess, in a way of, like the dark side of paradise, I guess. So this beach, I don't think was necessarily really that famous until it was put in this movie. And then it got overrun by tourists. So much so they had to close it down. There's actually even a lawsuit that happened between the Thai government and Fox, who produced the film, where Fox like destroyed the beach to film on it. They like bulldozed some trees, some sand dunes. I mean, it was like I don't remember where the lawsuit ended up. It was going on for like 10 years. And just recently now, I think you can go back, but it's like X number of people a year, like they're limiting it. So again, this sort of shows that, paradise can be also ruined, and that it's not exactly always perfect, just like this production showed. So, as a movie, like I saw this when it came out, I thought it was okay. I really liked the first two acts better than it ended. And I actually hadn't seen this movie. Even when I went to this beach, I didn't rewatch it going to the beach. I just went. I actually didn't even rewatch it when I got back. This is the first time I've kind of sat through this whole movie since seeing it, I guess, for the first time, probably. And I was actually surprised how well it sort of held up. I mean, I still had a little bit of a problem with the third act of it, but it was in a way kind of better than I remembered it. So I almost would in an odd way kind of recommend this movie, which I might not have done had I not just rewatched it. But yeah, that's the beach for me, number 3.
Yeah, I had actually never watched this movie before. It was sort of much maligned from what I'd heard about it, so I just kind of stayed away from it.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. Maybe I just came in with very low expectations from what I'd heard, but I was actually pretty entertained by the whole thing and kind of spot on whatever you were saying. I agree with it. What I would add to that is I think the movie also does a pretty good job at calling out this sense of kind of responsibility, or I guess lack thereof, when it comes to tourists, which sort of goes into the meta commentary part with Fox that you're talking about too, that, you know, a lot of people when they travel, and there's a spectrum to this too, maybe I'm guilty of it too, that you sort of telling yourself that, oh, I want the real thing, but you're kind of pursuing that in a very selfish, irresponsible way, because the people who live there, this is their real life. So by you sort of, you know, prancing around and doing your thing for the spirit of authenticity is actually sort of at the cost of something else, which net then in that, I don't know how authentic that is in some ways, right? Because it's fabricated in it's your projection of whatever authentic means, and especially if it comes at a cost of something else. So I think the movie does a pretty good job at that feeling, and I don't even know about the Fox part, but it just adds another layer to it, so that's pretty cool. It's also great to see Leo at that time. You know, he was the biggest star. I mean, probably still is in some ways. We don't have movie stars anymore, but you know, for all accounts, he's probably in that list. But it's good to see him in that time frame of his life of sort of being, you know, just cool and cocky and sure of himself, which again is a meta commentary on traveling. Like a lot of people who feel like they've traveled a lot or will try anything, yeah, you applaud them for their gutsiness, but I also cringe at it a little bit, you know, because it's like, oh, sure, great, you know, you can drink snake blood, that's fantastic, good for you, you know. So I don't know, the movie hit me in different ways, which was really fun. Great to see Tilda Swinton. I hadn't seen a movie of her, especially in Hollywood, when she was younger, so that was pretty cool to watch as well. The beach is beautiful. The movie is made super well. Yeah, the third act is a bit of a drag. The first act is probably my favorite.
Oh, totally.
You're just thrown into it and you're like, what the hell is even happening? So yeah, I do recommend it, strangely. I didn't think I would, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you know, I like the point you made about that inauthentic experience. And it's interesting too, because, you know, like I said in the beginning of the film, Leo's like, I want the real, like, I don't want something touristy. I want the real Thailand. And yet then he ends up at a beach that's literally all tourists in a community. Exactly. Like it's the exact opposite of what he was looking for. And I do think that is sort of a comment on a type of traveler of, oh, I want the real thing, but you're not living there. You're not part of that culture. You can't really experience it the same way they can. So I think that's a good point you made, that I think the film does a good job of just bringing those things up. I mean, I don't think it's judging it one way or the other, but saying, look, you're looking for this. You found kind of the exact you might as well have been opposite. You know, in like a bar in London meeting these same people. You're not really, you know, in touch with the culture. But
absolutely. Also, the only people on the island are hot people, nobody else. There's no person who's overweight, there's no person who looks not good. So yeah,
it's a paradise. But it comes at a cost.
Actually, it's funny. It made me think of, you know, a string of these reality TV shows from the last 20 years of where you're at some island. I mean, of course, Survivor, but also, you know, Bachelor in Paradise or whatever the dating shows, etc. It made me think of that a little bit. And I was wondering if they were inspired by this movie in some ways.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think the first season of Survivor came out the same year of this show. So it was right around that. I'm not a fan of that show. I don't know the history behind it other than that came out roughly the same time. They definitely could have been influenced by this for sure. it did feel like that a lot. I mean, setting up a little society and yeah, very interesting. Cool. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, I was sort of also surprised to kind of say, yeah, I recommend seeing The Beach. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.